Okay, we start presentation or a project for the methodology for social science course. The title of our project is the role of public space on social interaction in Turin, and our case study is San Carlo Square. Okay. And the first thing, public space is an integral part of the city. Many different activities are formed in this part of the town, and in this place, different groups of people of very class, age, race, and guides have the right to enter and participate without any restriction. In fact, public spaces are considered as the best place for the formation of social interaction, and urban experts emphasize the importance of paying attention to the role of urban space for social interaction. They increase the quality of urban space as a factor for people's vitality. Therefore, paying attention to this part of the city is very important. Each urban space is composed of different parts, and different factors affect its quality. By recognizing these factors and eliminating their problem, we can increase the quality of this space. Increasing the quality of urban space leads to encourage people to attend this space, and then create a unique and lasting identity for that area. But in this research, Turin is one of the oldest cities in Italy. Many social interaction are formed in its public space. Therefore, the increase in the quality of the space of Turin is very necessary and important. Next slide, please. Yes. In this slide, you can see the general process of this project. At the first, we reviewed the theoretical foundation related to the project and choose our work process from among these bases. After that, from the available methodologies, we choose observation and comparison. And after reviewing successful experience in Italy, we explored our study area. Next slide. But in the first part, we talk about the importance of paying attention to social interaction and the role of urban space from the point of view of urban planning experts. We mentioned in our article that social interaction play an important role in people's life, and how urban space help to achieve this. But we skip this issue due to lack of the time. In the next part, we introduce the factors of description urban space from the point of view of famous urban planner. Some theorists, such Kevin Lynch, Sam Miller, David Harvey, introduce a specific definition and participate for the vitality of urban space, which we briefly mentioned. Subjects such as natural factor as if our factors made in a space, readability, design of elements, and a few others are the condition that these authorities introduce for an urban space. Next slide. By summarizing the sum of different people's opinion about urban space and their effects on social interaction, and also according to the results presented in the field, in the score and space, it can be concluded that urban space is a physical complex in which people of different age and genders that interact with each other. This relation have a certain during, and the quality of this interaction depends on various factors. Based on this and based on the study conducted by the members of the groups from the source of mentions above, we divided the factors influencing social interaction into three general categories. The first one, the effects of the time on the quality of urban space. Number two, the influence of people who are in urban space, and the impact of the elements that make up the space. Next slide. After talking about the theoretical foundation, that the previous section, it's the time to choose or a method from the qualitative method available to study. We choose the method of observation and conversation. In this study, we looked at the factors involved in the subject as well as conducted studies or resources previously collected by other people and comparing them with example of successful and famous square in Italy. Next slide.
Okay. As we choose observation and comparison as our methodology in order to review and analyze the case study, first we introduce the quality desirable urban space in three famous piazza and their ability to establish social interaction. In this part, we focus on the main elements like form, activity, ideas, and ecosystem of Piazza del Campo, Piazza Campidoglio and Piazza San Marco. Next slide. In this slide, we talk about Turin and general information about Turin as one of the most important cities in Piedmont region. Not only is one of the economic poles of the country after Milan and Rome, but also Turin is one of the industrial poles of the North Italy. Turin is well known for its Renaissance, Baroque, and Neoclassical architecture, castles, gardens, and elegant palaces such as Palazzo Madama. Also, public squares like Piazza San Marco and Piazza Madama, which are built between 16th and 18th century with a very adequate linkage between them according to the urban structure. Talking about population demographic, I have to say the total population of Turin is about 848,169.96, which is divided into males with 48% and females with 52%. Generally speaking, the population which are in Turin, 51% is in middle age, 23% is under 20, and 26% is over 65 years old. Next slide. Uh, in this part, after examining the demographic characteristic, we try to show the case in the terrestrial map of the main spaces of the city and the main location. Then to express in more detail the relationship between San Carlo open space and its surrounding is shown in the map. Next page. In this part, we focus on historical background. These large square of 168 meter of 76 meter of the project of Carlo di Castellamonte in the 17th century. At first, it was called Piazza Reale due to its use by the military. Then in 1998, the site was changed into a pedestrian zone. There are remains of other historical events around the square. Cannonball is locked into the wall. It is from the French siege in 1706. Next page. Okay. Um, in this part, San Carlo Square is located in the center of Turin and it is well connected by the source of public transportation line. The geographical location and beautiful buildings surrounding the square have caused a large number of Turin residents um, the beautiful buildings surrounding the square have caused large number of residents come to the square every day, but nowadays they're almost empty due to the social distance and restrictions. And generally speaking, the number of people who refer to the square is higher in spring and summer. Next page.
Okay. As we know, San Carlo is in the center of city, so it has caused a large number of tourist residents to come to this square every day to spend their time or leisure time there. Nowadays, the area is almost empty due to the social distance and restrictions in the place. So we decided to go there and check the numbers of people who go to the San Carlo, and according to the table, it completely evident that all members of our group have been there in 4 different times in 4 days. And based on the observational results, it's clear that at weekend, the number of people who they spend their time in there are much more than other days. Next page. Okay, about the observe and study of the effect of people who are in spaces on the quality of a space. Another important factor to consider about San Carlos Square is diversity of population. In fact, the diversity is related to gender and age or different group of people. So about observation of the group members, total population observed is about 1,416. The majority of them are men. It's about 65%, whereas the lowest group is people who they are under 20 years old, almost about 13%. And in addition to what I've said, it's obvious that the number of people that spend their time in San Carlo, it depends on the day and even the time. For example, when different celebrations are held, people from different groups come to this square. And it is customary to stage various historical and social events, including election and concert. Next slide.
Okay, about the observing the study effect of the constituent elements and the quality of the space. According to the David Harvey 12 years observation in New York Plaza, there are the elements that people are more interested to be there and spend their time. These are the rules of the nature, like sun and shadow, wind, trees, and water. Sun and shadow, they comes together, and it belongs to the area that's having the shadow and the sun, and at the same time together, it lets the people to choose to sit or to stand under the sun or under the shadow part. The wind, as a picture we can see, the wind is when the wind blows, people feel like they're in the nature, and it's a kind of a good feeling that gets to the people. So the wind of the Piazza San Carlo, the piazza of our case study uh, is from northeast to southeast, and the trees are the another elements that people can feel great and feel like they are living in the nature. So Piazza San Carlo is one of the squares that doesn't have the trees or the green areas, and also the water is another element that people can get the good feeling of the being in nature from that. And even Piazza San Carlo doesn't have the water or the waterfalls in that. And according to the David Harvey's observation, water is one of the elements that could exist, that have to be exist in the piazza because of the feeling that it gave to the people. About the observation and the recognition of the structure and the movement and the access in the study area, there are four elements that we are working on. The enclosure, leaving the centers of this relationship between the buildings and the special connection between the buildings. Enclosure, as the Camilo mentioned, is this element is very important. It increase people's social interaction and people can choose whether to sit in open area or the closed area. San Carlos surrounding area is closed by buildings and center is open. Squares with open roof and with an open sky view is it's very important for being in the part of the enclosure. Regular communication between the buildings and the square is a part of the living the centers and the square, increase the visual richness and social interaction, which in Piazza San Carlo uh, we can see that there is regular communication between the buildings and the monuments. The open air and the spatial architecture is the openness and spatial architecture is that feel more like safety for people and people gather and celebrate their which connection and the common access among the squares increase. And the spatial connection between the squares of the San Carlo and from to the south is the Porta Nuova and to the north is the Piazza Madame.
Okay, and then based on the result and experiences obtained, the presence of each of the following elements in large square has a greater impact on attracting people to plaza. So we check the some elements such as rhythm according to case study and comparing to mentioned piazza, the rhythm of the space is obvious. And about the combination of the different elements in the case study space and a special harmony they have with each other attracts the viewer's attention. And for the visual diversity, actually, it's clear that when walking into this piazza and the one of the case study, I mean the other case study, the visual diversity is visible in every squares. And then about the identical symmetry of the columns and opening, this symmetry has caused visual diversity and identical symmetry in column and opening space is visible in the case study. And discipline and repeatable, it's according to the dimension, color, and shape of building are all following disciplinary rules. And for the next, about the proportion of the length, width, and the height, there is the visual richness of the area and creates a sense of belonging in the area. And proportion, and for the flooring, the same and regular flooring on the sidewalk of the square as well as inside the square. And continuity and harmony of the components of urban space. It's about that it has created a sense of continuity, of unity and special cohesion. And all at the end for the color, it's completely clear that all of the walls of building combination of just two light and dark colors. Next.
Okay, if you want to compare San Carlo square with the three other squares in Italy, we mentioned four factors: time, people, elements, and nature. For the time factor, Piazza San Carlo is more crowded in the evening and in at the weekend. But for the three other, the information is not completed for us, but it's expected that it's more crowded at the afternoon and the weekend. For the people, we divided into the two demographic and sexual parts and the social and cultural part. For Piazza San Carlo, more men, youth, and for more middle age of social level of citizens are attending to the and trying to be in the piazza, but for the three other piazza is the same for the sexual part, like the younger people tend to be more in the piazza at the same time, and for the others also tourists from the Italy and the other part of the world are those who are tending to be in the piazza. For the elements of the nature factor, the only one that the Piazza San Carlo doesn't have trees and water. Also, the other piazza doesn't have the trees and waters. And the wind and the sun and tree, sun and shadow is the one that they have it in proper. And in Piazza del Campo, we had the high radiation of the, and also Piazza San Marco, we have the high radiation of sun. For the movement and the access, they all has the proper one for the enclosure and the relation between the buildings and the movement. But for the special connection between the squares, Piazza del Campo, Piazza Campodelia, and Piazza San Marco doesn't have this special connection between the squares and the living center of the squares. Only Piazza San Carlo and Piazza Campodoglio has these centers in the square. The physical structure, with visual diversity combination in buildings and all the physical structure, the only one, the proportion of the length and width can be seen in the Campodoglio, and for the Piazza San Marco, we have all elements of the physical structure. As a conclusion, the issue of the space and the urban space has been a very high scientific, very high issue by a scientific meeting between the architecture and urban planning, which they wanted to create a dynamic urban space with a harmony with the social, cultural, environmental, physical, psychological, and environmental aspects. According to the field of this study that carried out from us in Piazza San Carlo in Torino, we have the following notes. The diversity of the presence of the different people and in different hours show that the importance of the paying attention to the urban space, an important part of the city in the touring, the dynamic, the vitality of the existence which has been in the past and continues to the present, the diversity of the present in different people and different hours, show us the importance of paying attention to this urban space. And to read the symmetry principle, emphasizing indicator elements and scales, proportion, proportional continuity, and equilibrium, and principle of hierarchy is well observed in this area.